Wait, I have to review a Jennifer Aniston movie? And then I have to watch Troll 2? Oh my god! Hello and welcome to Movie Night. I'm your host, Jonathan Paula. On tonight's episode, we'll be taking a look at 3 films. One of them is good, one is bad, one is pretty average. But let's start right off with the bad one, Troll 2. Widely regarded as one of the worst films ever made, 1990's Troll 2, despite its title, has absolutely zero connection with Troll 1, and does not actually feature any trolls. Under the pseudonym Drake Floyd, Italian director Claudio Fragasso was notoriously difficult to understand by Troll 2's amateur cast of local American actors. So already this film is gearing itself up for disaster. The rather simple plot follows Joshua Waits, a young child whose family decides to go on vacation in a small farming town known as Neilbog, goblin spelled backwards. But behind the eager hospitality from the local townspeople lies some sinister human-eating desires from a group of secret goblins. The dramatic irony here, of course, is that only Joshua knows about the evil goblins after he was warned by the ghost of his dead grandfather, including one instance where Grandpa Ghost pauses the space-time continuum so Joshua can take a piss all over his family's first meal in Neilbog, which apparently was his only solution to prevent his family from eating the food, which he found out was poisoned. Another standout scene plays almost like a poorly made fetish-themed porno. A goblin disguised as an attractive brunette seduces a teen male with an ear of corn, but our horny teen prefers popcorn instead, which turns out not to be a problem once the two start making love. The entire room starts to magically be filled with popcorn that blasts them from off-screen like cheap fireworks. Bizarre scenes like this that have you questioning the motives of all the characters in the film, as well as your own sanity, literally make up the entire movie. While Troll 2 isn't the worst movie ever made, it is most certainly an awful excuse for cinema. Every aspect of this movie is poorly executed. Beyond cringeworthy, this film just becomes laughably terrible. The writing, the acting, the special effects, the pacing, the music, the directing are just abysmal. Even the editing and cinematography is garbage here. Troll 2 is filled with confusing cuts and lots of unnecessary zooms, all of which are jerky in their execution. But while there is certainly a place for Troll 2 as a cult classic, the so bad it's good type of movie, that unfortunately doesn't actually make it a good movie. But if you're in the mood for one of the most hilariously bad movies ever made, and you have a bunch of friends to watch with, I suppose Troll 2 is slightly redeeming. Genuinely terrible and beyond laughable. Well, that's what I thought about Troll 2. Now let's see what you had to say in the YouTube comments. I don't suppose this verdict will surprise anybody, but let's bring the Rate-O-Matic to see how we scored Troll 2. A double garbage. While this film has its moments, they're all for the wrong reasons. Unintentionally funny, but really quite awful. I had to give it a 1. And you completely agree with me. It's a bad movie that deserves the lowest score possible. But like a train wreck, it's strangely still worth watching. Which brings us to tonight's second film, Best Worst Movie. Released just last year, this 2010 documentary about the cult phenomenon behind Troll 2 was directed and produced by the child actor who played Joshua in the movie, Michael Stevenson. Since it's almost required viewing after seeing Troll 2, I thought I'd quickly give a review on this movie as well. It's an honest, fly-on-the-wall perspective at Troll 2's legacy, the hilariously unintended impact it had on its cult fanbase, and the lives of its terrible cast almost 20 years later. It's a fun, humble little movie that'll definitely have you smiling, a refreshing look at what the people who made this disaster actually first felt about it, and how they've since embraced this bizarre cult fame 20 years later. As far as documentaries go, Stevenson does a fantastic job here, answering all of the viewers' questions and truly providing us with an interesting narrative to follow for the 93-minute runtime. If you ever wanted to understand how or why a truly bad film actually gets made, Best Worst Movie won't disappoint. Enjoyable insight on bad cinema. I give it a 7 out of 10. It's a cool movie. If you can sit through Troll 2, you'll really enjoy it. Alright, now on to tonight's third and final film, The Switch. Released last August, this romantic comedy stars Jennifer Aniston as Cassie, a 40-something New Yorker who decides to resort to artificial insemination after getting antsy about having children. And for some reason, she decides to throw a party the evening the sperm is to be donated. Cassie's best friend, Wally, played by Jason Bateman, is not only stuck in the friend zone, he also gets so drunk at this sperm party, he accidentally flushes the real sperm down the sink and foolishly decides to replace it with his own in a drunken stupor. Fast forward 7 years later, and Cassie has now re-entered Wally's life. And that's when he slowly discovers and remembers that her 6-year-old child is actually probably his. The plot is convoluted, ridiculously unrealistic, and frankly, it's condescending to the audience. Does director Josh Gordon actually expect anyone to be emotionally invested in a film that hinges on such laughably unbelievable situations? It's a substantially large flaw that The Switch sadly never overcomes. Luckily though, Wally's relationship with the child that he eventually discovers to be his own makes for some heartwarming entertainment. As 6-year-old Sebastian, Thomas Robinson does a really terrific job in an incredibly demanding role, hitting most of his lines with ease and really providing most of the laughs in the movie. Bouncing off of Robinson, Bateman does an even better job, turning in a surprisingly dramatic performance that felt genuinely authentic from the comedy veteran. A scene where Sebastian and Wally both talk about how they never knew their respective fathers is quite moving and well acted by Bateman. Jeff Goldblum shows up as well in a great supporting role, but only because he's Jeff Goldblum, once again basically just playing his own quirky self. And as seems to be the trend, Aniston is the weakest actor in the film, showing little range in scenes that really required stronger performances from her. The film's happy romantic comedy ending contains no surprises or tension, with Wally and Cassie's relationship failing to spark any interest during the first 2 acts of the movie. Occasionally enticing a giggle or two, and charming audiences with the father-son relationship, The Switch sadly also succeeds in annoying audiences with its ridiculous plot and tired romantic comedy formulas. Mostly unrealistic, but sometimes cute. Well, now that you've heard my review, let's read some of yours in the YouTube comments. Some mixed opinions there, so now let's bring in the Rate-O-Matic to see how we both scored The Switch. A double 5. Once again, we've agreed on a film tonight. There wasn't anything terrible about this movie, but some of the film did work, and it was entertaining. I thought it was alright. Criticizing it for being too predictable, but enjoying it for some of the laughs, you also scored it an alright. That's it for tonight's films. Now let's take a look at what's currently playing in theaters with some tweet critiques. Remember, if you're going to the movies this weekend, make sure to submit your Twitter review using the JPMN hashtag to get featured on an upcoming episode. Next week, we'll be reviewing Red, an action comedy with a great ensemble cast featuring Bruce Willis and Morgan Freeman that comes out on DVD Tuesday, and by popular request, I'll finally be reviewing Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, which came out on DVD a couple months ago. As always, I encourage you to buy, rent, or download these films before next week's episode, and let me know what you think about them by voting in the polls below or by leaving me a comment review. Once again, my name is Jonathan Paula. Thank you so much for watching Movie Night. I hope to see you right back here next Friday.